Based on talking to a number of senators today, I think everybody in the Senate, with the exception of probably 2 or 3 people, feel like this is the best possible bill that can be passed. And I think that the various groups that have been interested in the lid law have also agreed on it. And I think really the primary concern of the legislature should be what's in the best interest of the people of Alabama. And I think this bill is as good as could be passed by the Alabama legislature concerning the property tax situation. So I expect that this bill will be voted on at some time, hopefully today, if not today, on Tuesday, so that the Senate can get on to other business that they have to deal with during the balance of this session.
Governor, are you aware that the average person does not know what we're talking about when we discuss the lid bill, other than the people that are, well, the special interest group? People on the street don't know what you're filibustering about.
I think that's right. I think that by and large, even in the legislature, oftentimes they've not really understood what the lid law is all about and why you even need a lid law. All this does under the lid was to put a top level on the extent that property taxes in a county could go up, and that lid was at 20%. Under the compromise bill, in effect, you're reducing the classification on homeowners, on farmers, on property owners generally, with the exception of utilities and big business, so to speak.
But I want to begin by telling you that the Alabama Supreme Court this week has approved a plan which will allow photographic and electronic coverage in the courtrooms of Montgomery County. And it is a detailed plan. It was submitted for the circuit and district courtrooms. The plan as approved really basically simply says this, that when the trial judge approves a case and the parties to a case consent, you can have spot news coverage in a trial in a courtroom in the 15th Judicial Circuit. You can have it televised, photographed, or broadcast under one condition, and that is so long as this kind of coverage is not disruptive of court procedures.
Said on many occasions that I believe that the values that were good 100 years ago and further back than that are still good today. And I have also said that I think we should have a spiritual revolution, a spiritual revival in our nation. And I believe that, frankly, that any personal problem, state problem, national problem, or world problem can be solved through our dependence upon our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I think if his philosophy and doctrine was adopted and adapted to many of the regions of our world instead of the godless ideology of communism, that we'd have more world peace.
Well, we hope that we'll be able to instill in the residents of public housing facilities here a pride in their surroundings, and hopefully we'll be able to get them to continue to clean up and keep the area clean, and we're just interested in trying to keep Montgomery beautiful.
How did this all come about, and who's involved?
Well, you have the Montgomery Housing Authority involved, the Montgomery Clean City Committee, and students of Alabama State University. This came about as a coordinated effort between the Montgomery Clean City Committee, the Housing Authority, and myself as a board member, because this is something that I've been continuously interested in since being on the Montgomery Housing Authority board.
Will this be a continuing project?
Definitely. We will be continuing this on approximately a weekly basis to the various public housing facilities to try to plant grass and to do things of this nature. And I'm going to also put forth an effort where we have lease facilities to make sure that the landowners come forward and do something as it relates to planting trees, shrubbery, and things of this nature.
How has the reaction been so far today?
Oh, it's been tremendous. We've had a tremendous number of children that have been out to help us, and the residents they are out. And if you'll notice around here, it's just amazing. This is basically elderly. Most of the people live here are elderly people, and they have a tremendous amount of gardens and facilities that are planted here.
Many years to continue to upkeep the cemetery, and of course we know it's a great heritage for not only for our state.
Had it not been for the people of Chilton County, of Clanton and Verbena and Mountain Creek, this site might easily have been forgotten and have been like many cemeteries throughout the state that had been abandoned.
This area. Now we're calling Mr. Warner Floyd, who is the executive.
And it is well worth our efforts to restore their burial sites, to commemorate the things that they stood for. The people who are buried here are dead, and yet there is no death. There is no death because of the resurrection. There is no death because of the remembrances that you have made possible. There is no death. An angel form walks over the earth in silent tread and bears our best loved ones away, and then we call them dead. There is no death. The dust we tread shall change beneath the summer showers to mellow fruit and golden grain and rainbow-tinted flowers. There is no death. The stars go down to rise upon some other shore, and bright in heaven's jewel crown they shine forevermore.
Included in this cemetery of Confederate soldiers is the grave of a 105-year-old Cherokee Indian who served as a scout for the Confederate forces. It seems appropriate that on this day of dedication for an all-Confederate cemetery that it's located only miles from the heart of the Confederacy in Montgomery, Alabama, where the United States was divided in 1861. This is Bob Howell for WSFA TV News in Mountain Creek, Alabama.
Also playing with the group, the general manager of WSFA.
tomorrow's session of the Senate, I would hope that between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock tomorrow that the Senate would take up and pass the reorganization bill that's pending on the calendar. This would require voting straight up and down on amendments or substitutes or the original bill, whatever comes before the Senate. And I would hope that if senators have objections to the reorganization bill, that they would offer their objections in the forms or in the form of amendments rather than filibuster. I would also hope that at 4 o'clock tomorrow that the Senate would follow up on the tentative agreements that have been made and vote straight up and down on the lid law and any amendments that might be offered. Under the terms of the compromise worked out last week, there was to be no filibuster, but any senator would have the right to offer any amendment that he might see fit to offer and to have adequate time to discuss that amendment to try to persuade the Senate to go along with him. But these two matters should be hopefully concluded by tomorrow, and that would leave the balance of the session to take up such matters as the utility package, which hopefully will be considered in committee tomorrow and completed on the public hearings, and also the crime package, of course the budgets, which have to be passed during this session, and a lot of other important legislation that is now pending in both houses of the legislature. Interests have a great deal of influence on what happens in this legislature on both sides.
The Federal Power Commission needs to give us reconstruction permits as the next step, and that will be the final measure after this. I would guess that once we have the plans to go on with reconstruction, it'll take about 2 to 2.5 years to rebuild the problem that exists at Bolden Dam.
In connection with this, what about the charge that the Alabama Power Company compromised with the dam safety and that the design was deficient?
George, this has to do with record keeping that existed particularly at the time in 1975, but at that time, certain things that occurred and normally occur from year to year at dams, such as the side of the dam sloughing off due to rainfall and so forth, are supposed to be reported. We did report it verbally. We did not report it in writing, and it has to do with the fact that they felt like our record keeping was not appropriate. I'm sure you remember the order states the company will probably appeal that part of their decision, primarily because we feel like that the judgment we made at the time was appropriate for the occurrence.
Some officials don't expect as big a turnout for this week's runoff election, but there may be some surprises. Blacks and whites are running against one another for the remaining Millbrook council seats, and the two mayoral candidates have been giving it their best. Both Reginald Minner and Rex Fronduti have taken similar stands on many issues. Both are for controlled progress in the Millbrook area, better drainage, and an open office, always welcome to citizen input. Whoever wins has a big task ahead of him. Setting up a new city government has always been a rough job. And it is here that the two hopefuls begin to differ.
We plan to call the council together as soon as we're sworn in, and I hope to appoint some committees from the different people in the area that have a lot to offer, come up with a report from them each month. I hope to transfer the CETA program from the police department of the CETA program over to the city, and of course we'll do whatever we can to get all the license schedule worked up to date. But our revenues will primarily probably come from license schedule and from the utility companies, and I hope that we can get some grants from different programs. We are going to check into those and see what we can get and file for whatever we can qualify.
We're going to have to try to find the capable people to head the various departments. This is one of the main things we're going to have to do.
How about revenue? How are you going to get the monies needed to get Millbrook on its feet?
Well, Bill, like I made a statement before, that actually we're going to have to see what revenues we do have and how much we're going to get from the state taxes, which belongs to which will be part of our share, of course, and certain grants from the federal government, and then from there we should look forward to see where other revenues will be obtained.
Do you have any plans for any type of license tax within the city or any other type of tax?
It has been discussed, but again with the council we'll have to discuss this further and either approve or disapprove of this measure.
No one is making sure bets on who will be Millbrook's mayor, but most residents of the community put good odds on their desire to get the voting over with and the city on its way. Bill Weaver, WSFA TV News. WSFA TV News special report. Good evening. I'm skirts of Millbrook. Millbrook election. Millbrook's mayor for this next term will be Reginald Minner. He's won the mayor's race, defeating Rex Fronduti 466 votes to 284 votes. Taking a look at the council positions, which were up for grabs tonight, Ed Essex has defeated Lily Lucille Mays 515 to 223, and Dana Crawford has defeated Oliver Fenderson 488 to 253. Once again, L. Reginald Minner has won the mayor's seat for this first term of the Millbrook city government. This is Bill Weaver reporting live from Millbrook. This has been a WSFA TV special report. Okay. Are you focused? Mr. Minner, first of all, how does it feel?
Well, I guess it feels wonderful, but yet I'm humbled by the experience in that I have a big responsibility now to the people of the new incorporated area.
You had a pretty decisive victory. What do you owe that to?
Well, I think the people had confidence in me. I grew up in the area. They knew my bad points, my good points, and they knew that what I would try to do if I was elected would be for the betterment of all the people.
Well, what's going to be the first step now?
The first step is to get us sworn in, and then the next thing is we want to start acting just as soon as we can get sworn in. I hope tonight to find out when the swearing-in ceremony is going to be, because I'd like for it to be as soon as possible.
When do you expect the first council meeting to take place?
Well, unofficially, we may have one within a night or so after swearing in, but it'll be up to the council. They will set the time and the schedule. The people, I believe, want night meetings. They seem to think that at night they can come if they're interested in a subject, they can express an opinion, have a voice and input into the decision making.
What are going to be some of your first objectives after being sworn in?
Well, the first objective, of course, is getting the records and books set up, filing all the necessary papers, working on any grants that we might be able to secure, trying to, I hope, change over the CETA program from the sheriff's office to the CETA program to the police, city policeman of Millbrook. And of course, then we'll start working on some of the needs of the community.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Minner, and once again, congratulations, Mayor.
Bill, appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Governor George Wallace, in a terse message to the Senate committee, called the hearings on his utility package a charade and charged the committee was doing nothing but stalling and acting as puppets of the special interests in not reporting out the bills so the Senate could vote on them. Wallace, in a letter to the committee, said it was a sad day in Alabama when a handful of power-hungry senators indebted to the special interests blocked consumers' legislation such as these bills. Wallace said only in the Alabama Senate could this happen, and he threatened to fulfill a pledge to go to the people of Alabama by going over the state, naming the committee members. The governor said it's time the committee has the guts to vote these bills out and put them before the Senate so the people will know who is on their side and who is on the side of the power company. Senator Gilmore, do you feel that the governor's letter was untimely and possibly uncalled for?
Both, George.
Well, how do you feel about it?
Well, I don't think it served any useful purpose at all. It really served to antagonize the members of the committee who have been working diligently the last couple of days to find out the true facts and the effect of these proposed bills by the governor. I wish he could have been upstairs listening. I think he would not have been quite as critical.
Do you think that they'll be out of committee tomorrow?
I hope that we can conclude the hearings tomorrow. I have assured the people that are interested in speaking to them that we were going to hear what they had to say as long as it was pertinent and relevant.
You read the letter that the governor sent to you, and naturally, if you had to pinpoint something in that letter that you thought was uncalled for, where would you zero in?
Well, I think the cussing out of the committee, if you will, was uncalled for. If the governor was sincerely interested in passing his bill, I think he would have taken a different approach altogether.
Does the committee feel that possibly this wasn't from the governor, maybe some other source?
I don't know about that, George, whether that truly expresses the governor's feelings or someone around him.
Do you think that the package will get through this session?
I think the package will get out on the floor. I really don't find a lot of strong support for it. And so, it'd be wrong for me to say I think it'll pass.
There's some question whether or not the governor wants it to pass in this session.
Yes, there is.
Testimony before Senator Gilmore's committee today heard an official of South Central Bell Telephone Company claim that one of the governor's utility bills would dry up investment capital for utilities. J.D. Matheson said the bill requiring utilities to refund to their customers rate increases that were found judiciously excessive or illegal would be disastrous on utilities. Matheson said the bill was not just a moral issue, as Maurice Bishop, attorney for Governor George Wallace, has argued, but he said we are dealing in finances and an issue that will raise costs of utilities to consumers and not reduce them. Bishop told the committee that when a utility goes before the legislature or a court saying it wants to hold money it isn't entitled to, then it becomes a moral issue. Bishop said the issue is clearly drawn to consumers entitled to a refund if charges are excessive. Jack Bingham, attorney for Alabama Power, said the measure is dangerous and the flaws in it creates a unique threat on financing prospects on a utility. A number of representatives from local chambers of commerce who joined other utilities and various labor and business groups claimed passage of the Wallace utility package would hinder industrial growth in the state. The utility package is still in committee, and a 9 o'clock hearing has been scheduled for tomorrow morning. George Mitchell, WSFA TV News, the state legislature.
To get in our minds clearly, because I'm certain, I'll admit, I don't. I do too.
Well, I give the input. I finished my 28th law course last night. What do you want to know about the legal aspect?
Well, you already told me what you thought. I think I had a
Well,
simulated number for percent return, I assume you're talking on rate base.
I'm back there smiling. I think he knows what I'm talking about. A 25% reduction.
Well,
just the
how
same
would
as
we
in
go
your
about that? How?
One of the major gripes I've heard citizens of Alabama voice is that they resent having to pay now for Alabama Power Company's future construction that they may or may not be around to use. And under this plan, it would orient rate increases toward when those plants began to go into service.
I don't think the people in Alabama are ready for automatic increases in their rates, and therefore I'm not saying that I will not look at it in the future. I will look at any plan that will help the residents of Alabama, but I am not ready at this time to do it on the spur of a moment when I have serious question and legal question about the proposal.
It automatically brings into the picture some further increases down the road automatically. And that's the feature of it that I don't like.
The 61 million is definitely not adequate to get the job done. As to Mr. Ziegler's proposal, I was disappointed that the commission cut that off so rapidly and did not develop more of the facts surrounding his proposal. I'm not sure about all of the substance of the proposal, but there seemed to be enough there to where it should have been given more consideration. It had some import of having some mechanism for reaching a more acceptable level of rate.
Before 1979. That's not in Carl's field. That's not a legal question. You ask Jim Williams that.
All right, I'll ask him.
All right.
Do you understand it, Jim?
Well, I think if I understand the proposal.
Increase the same.
Before you go back in there, the only thing I've got to say to the jury is that I've been at it a long time, and if you don't come back with a death sentence, which is the only other thing I think you can come out with, I'm going to get out and I'm going to do it again.
We did kill him, so really the only thing you can come back with is the death penalty. And the other consideration is that if you give me life, or if I got life imprisonment, I could get out in 10, 15 years. And when I got out, I know where everybody on the jury lives, and I wouldn't appreciate being in prison for 10 or 15 years, so I think I would have to come after you.
Pawnbroker, 33-year-old Edward Nasser, was gunned down in his shop during a holdup last January. Nasser, the father of two young daughters who witnessed the shooting, died a few hours later. 2 months later, two men were arrested for the crime. 27-year-old John Evans of Beaumont, Texas, and 23-year-old Wayne Ritter of Indianapolis. Both men admitted they had killed Nasser during a crime spree of armed robbery, kidnapping, and extortion. Under Alabama law, crimes which carry the death penalty must be tried before a jury, even when the defendants plead guilty. Against the advice of their court-appointed attorneys, both men took the stand yesterday to tell the jury they murdered the pawnbroker and said they wanted the death penalty rather than spend their lives in prison.
If you give me life, or if I got life imprisonment, I could get out in 10, 15 years. And when I got out, I know where everybody on the jury lives, and I wouldn't appreciate being in prison for 10 or 15 years, so I think I would have to come after you.
I've been at it a long time, and if you don't come back with a death sentence, which is the only other thing I think you can come out with, I'm going to get out and I'm going to do it again. There's not any question whatsoever. I have no intention whatsoever of ever reforming in any way.
It took the jury only 15 minutes to return verdicts of guilty. This morning, Ritter and Evans went back to court to be sentenced. Judge Joseph Hochlander ordered the death penalty for both men and set the date for their executions in the electric chair before sunrise on July 25th.
May God have mercy on your soul. Take charge of the prisoners.
A review of the trial by the Alabama Supreme Court is mandatory, but Ritter and Evans have said they will not cooperate with any attempts to appeal their sentences. However, their defense attorneys suspect the defendants may be counting on publicity of their trial to generate support from groups opposed to the death penalty. If Ritter and Evans should have a last-minute change of heart and decide to ask for a stay of execution, they may have some difficulty getting a call through from the governor's office. Alabama Governor George Wallace is a longtime advocate of capital punishment. Kenley Jones, NBC News, Mobile.
I see you carry it. There you go. There you go. We have another word to say.
A lot of things that been needing doing for years and years. Now's a chance for us to represent you and get some of these problems solved and do some of these things for the city. With all of us working together, this includes each of you, with your inputs in committees we might appoint, I believe we can make this a growing area that all of us will be proud of in the future years. Thank you.